When me touch down, better broke down.
Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see that.
I get it. Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyingi.
Okay. Korsa. Nsila ID soto.
Ah, sa soto. Sorry. I get it.
Bijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariaka.
Ah,
mbare ki janna nun kunu bara tariaka.
Ah, janno mi yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbari ya bere. Ha. Birim koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola soto Gambia jam.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nko kodo kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta même na kodi to poto ni kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wolam nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi mani domorol ni fana be teat. Gambia dawda yalo ngam fa kendol sotale je.
Ha wo mo yo teat ha.
Apelenta
ni mo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani la ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Of owning your dream homes, EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3, or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Alright.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
Baluwo? What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Hello and welcome to the brunch. I'm Lamin Chan, welcoming you to another edition of our weekly current affairs here on Kerfato. This week, well, the Independent Electoral Commission has said that it is now waiting for health clearance to conduct two by-elections, that is Nyamina West and Kerjarga local government areas. The IEC also spoke about the much talk about speculation over the age, or not actually age, excuse me, about the expiry of or not of the chairman's term. Now, must Gambia live with COVID to continue with our work, especially when it pertains to election cycle, or must we sit down and wait until we have from authorities or from wherever that we can now go ahead with our electoral system? Now, this is the basic topic I'm going to discuss with three gentlemen representing three different political views. And they are Almamy Taal, who is from the United Democratic Party. They are spokesman, actually. Almamy, are you with us?
I am.
Amadou is the spokesman. Yeah, I can hear you. Thank you very much. Stay there. Amadou, the PRO for the Gambia Democratic Congress, GDC. Amadou, are you with us?
Of course we are. Thank you very much. We are, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Dodou is the deputy spokesman for the Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction, APRC. Mr. Jah, are you with us?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for having me on the brunch.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And we also arranged to have Majik Jai, who is the administrative secretary of the National People's Party. But apparently, I think he may be having technical issues, as he has said he will be traveling up country, but then will do his best to join us. Now, let me begin by talking straight to Almamy Taal. You yourself provoked earlier in the week this whole debate to say that COVID-19 basically should not be used as an excuse to delay electoral process, most particularly the referendum. But even before the referendum, you have small businesses to finish, like the Nyamina West local, parliamentary seat elections, as well as the Kerjarga by-elections in the local councils. Why now? Why do you think that COVID-19 is being used, maybe not as a political tool, but it's being used as a lame excuse to delay the electoral process? Why do you think that is the case?
Well, I cannot speculate about that. And also, I just want to be clear here. I had a very extended interview on the phone with the Standard newspaper's Omar Ba. And we were talking about the next steps in the reform agenda of the country and the roles of institutions, particularly Parliament. Okay. And I feel in our discussions, I was making it absolutely clear that the CRC Act itself gave the timeline and the outline of the processes that are going to happen before we... Excuse me.
Thank God you are not near me.
Well, I'm sitting outside at home, so I'm not near anybody. Okay. So really, I think that the context of that interview was to see and to share some thought as a legal practitioner, principally. Of course, I mean, nowadays there is no gainsaying. Whatever I say, people attribute it to the UDP. But let me be very absolutely clear. Yes, I was talking in my capacity as a lawyer, and I have ideas about this coming constitution, and I shared that extensively with Mr. Bao of the Standard newspaper. Just to say that COVID-19 is going to be around for a while. And therefore, like we are doing, we are having this discussion and it is being broadcasted. Thanks to technology, we are able to do that. So at the end of the day, I think, I mean, the IEC, like all other institutions, Parliament, every other institution needs to adapt to the reality on the ground and find creative ways of engaging in fulfilling their own mandates. So really, I think I did not mean to provoke a discussion about that. It was within a context that I was trying to explain that we have a CRC Act which says that these are the things that are going to happen. And the new constitution itself needs to empower Parliament so that it can have more autonomy of action and be able to do more of the oversight mandate and to make even better laws. This was the context that the interview was made. But really, I think we should have an honest debate about all these processes. And by all means, I'm very happy to discuss them.
That doesn't change the fact that you think and feel that probably the IEC is playing up this COVID issue too much as a way of delaying electoral process, for example, the process that is going to lead us to referendum, among other things.
No, I don't think the IEC is the only player in this, because if you look at what is happening around the world, I know Singapore has a new law to deal with their election this year because of COVID. So I mean, we have a state of public emergency, and this is the starting point. As long as that state of emergency exists, whether it's with curfew or without curfew, you will have to find another legal route to be able to conduct other politically involved matters. So really, I think the IEC can only act when the law is very clear. And we should all demand of our institutions that are making the laws to make them as clear as possible, but to be innovative enough also to be able to deal with this global pandemic, because other people are also having elections. In Ghana, they are. So we need to just look at what is necessary within our circumstances and try to work on that so that our life doesn't stop. We seem to be paralyzed as a nation. Nothing seems to be moving.
Okay. Now, let me cross to Dodou, Deputy Spokesman for the APRC. Ja, are you frustrated also that there's hardly any political activity going on? And do you think the COVID issue is a genuine excuse for this total inactivity in the political arena?
Mr. Cham, I'm having some trouble in hearing what you're saying. It's not very audible. It's breaking. I'm not sure whether it's from my end. It could be my internet connection is giving trouble.
I am saying, how do you feel? Are you frustrated about the lack of activity in the political scene, largely because of the COVID? You think the COVID issue is a genuine excuse for everybody to sit down and wait until it's safe?
Thank you very much. I think I got that question earlier on. It has helped me to understand exactly what you're asking for. What I want to say, COVID is a global pandemic, which is affecting most countries, and we have to live with it. Even if we don't expect it to leave us too soon, I believe the IEC should.
Well, we seem to have lost Dodou on a very important topic. Let's cross over to Amadou of the Gambia Democratic Congress. Amadou, you've been following the debate. I mean, the whole issue is that there are elections and electoral activities happening in the Ivory Coast. They are going for elections. Well, Mr. Jai is back. Mr. Jai, are you back now?
Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Cham?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Jai. Go ahead, Mr. Jai. Go ahead. Go ahead. If you can hear me, Mr. Jai, you go ahead. Mr. Jai is seeking help. Can you hear me now? Yeah, can you hear me now? Go ahead now. Go ahead.
It doesn't look like it, Lamin. Maybe Mr. Carr.
Mr. Carr, can you pick up where I've just been asking? I've said, from your point of view and that of your party's perspective, are you not frustrated that there is nothing happening politically? And do you think the COVID issue is a genuine issue for everybody to sit down until we feel that it's safe when others are doing something out there in the other countries?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. Also, I will take this opportunity to greet those colleagues of mine, Mr. Almamy Taal, my senior, somebody that I have sat in many occasions in his classes, and my colleague there, Mr. Jai as well. I think that excuse was really not helpful in any way. And then it's also another manifestation that we don't really have a functional, I can say, maybe a country that's being spearheaded in the right way. IEC have their mandate. That mandate is quite different from what the health sector or the health directorates should do. They all have different mandates. And for us to continue to have a running country, then we expect each of these industry institutions to function. I think instead of waiting for clearance from the health department, what IEC was supposed to do is to update the health department regarding their upcoming activities. They need to schedule these elections. The health sector need to come and play their role while we are going through these elections. Just a simple example, now that they have opened the mosque, if you go to mosque, you can see people are doing their best in respecting these rules. The mosque, in fact, example, are not, or churches are not open for just for one day, but they are continuing every single day. So 5 times people pray in the mosque, and when they go in, they have their mosque. Some mosques, in fact, you can see the social distancing, everything has been respected by the people. So I think that alone should have been enough to let IEC know that election may not be that kind of a harm to the people also, because people are now used to this COVID guidance and rules and regulations. So I think what they ought to have done or asked from the Minister of Health is to gear up and prepare for elections. They say. So it is coming up for a long time now with certain communities of this country not even represented in the parliament. I think that's absurd. Nyamina have not been represented in the parliament for a long time now, and they are citizens. They need their issues whatsoever to be talked about in the parliament. So citizens.
I can understand your frustration because, of course, it was a GDC secured seat, and you naturally would like to have it back. But anyway, what do you make of the explanation from the IEC that they can guarantee, may be able to guarantee for their staff, that is, but they don't know whether the general public who are coming there would definitely be safe? I mean, given what you have said, I mean, polling stations have now been decentralized in the Gambia in such a way that you don't have large populations at any given population. And in any case, the Nyamina West constituency is about 3,000 voters. So this seems to rhyme with your suggestion that it can easily be conducted since a one-day affair. Are you with me, Mr. Carr?
Yeah, I want to say IEC must know that that's not their problem. Their mandate is organizing elections. Who is safe or not, or regarding health issues, is not their mandate, it's not their problem. That should be handled by another. That's why we have divisionalization, specialization on all these issues. They are administrative issues. So their mandate is to organize election. COVID should not stop us from, because the country must go on. Life must have to go on. Even at government level, the offices or institutions have not been so closed down. Maybe they were asked to scale down their activities. So there are a lot of many other issues, methods that IEC can apply to go into conducting these elections. So I think, trying to take excuse, telling us that people are not going to be safe or not, I think that's not good. And then we are asking them, to do what must be done and to organize elections for Nyamina West and then the Kerjalga ward.
All right, we will continue because there are other things other than the election itself, the registration and others. Let's talk about all that. Mr. Ja, I hope you can now hear us very clearly. Are you there?
Yes, I had some breakdown of communication, but I'm
very good. You were saying that, okay, in your view, this pandemic is here to stay, and that perhaps we should learn how to stay with it and go on with our life. Continue from there.
Okay, thank you very much. What I was emphasizing is we should accept that COVID is a global pandemic and most countries are living by it. I expected the IEC to be more professional in handling it. We cannot just sit by and say we're going to wait for COVID. How long is it going to last? Especially for me, I believe government are not doing enough to see that we will have COVID behind us, so we must live with it. And if other countries and other institutions can put in regulations and take measures for it to be a continuing process, like Mr. Carr has highlighted, we can see in the religious places, people are putting up measures, following up whatever it's given by the health authorities, and they're moving on. It might not be normalized as how life used to be, but it's still a means of moving forward. So the same thing, the IEC should work with the health sector and look at the regulations and what measures can be put in place for us to move ahead. We cannot just sit and say we're going to wait for COVID.
Now, particularly dealing with the by-elections in Nyamina or the council elections in Sierra, I mean, it's not just one day election. You need to have political campaigns. Perhaps this is why the IEC is apprehensive that when you include political campaigns, that naturally will attract a lot of people. Don't you think so, Almamy?
No, I mean, I believe really like. Well, okay.
Let's go to Ja. That was a case of Almamy, but go ahead. Yes, I'm asking because it's not just a one day, the election day itself. You have to involve political campaigns, nominations, etc. All those have not been done. I mean, and that naturally will attract crowds. How do you think they can navigate a way out of that, where you have somebody, do we have to leave it to the candidates to come to everybody's village and just pass on a Land Rover shouting names? I mean, the IEC may be justified in feeling that there cannot be any campaign.
I believe still campaign could be done if social distancing is emphasized. Crowds could be reduced, done in a more moderate capacity that it can go on. Campaigning is selling the ideals, programs and policies of your party. If you cannot do that, gathering people in what sport, it can be done, especially in sport meetings, whereby the number of crowds that can be gathered can be limited. So this is why I said measures can be put in place that everybody has to respect, and we can still move ahead. I don't believe those are excuses to derail us from conducting these elections.
Almamy, let's just focus on this because it has been there. I mean, nobody knows now when it's going to happen. It's dragging, and who knows, it might go until the expiry of the term of Parliament itself.
That would be really unfortunate, but I really think we can do some basic changes in the way we conduct our affairs, especially within the public space. Now we are having this very meaningful discussion, and we are not together.
Yes.
So technology is at our beck and call. You know, you have social media has exploded. Citizen journalism is there. You have all kinds of things. So gathering crowds may not be the best way to message properly. I mean, you can record these things. You can show them on television. We have a national television network. You can have all these opportunities that technology has put at our disposal, and we should look on them as tools to change our politics, to change the way we conduct the affairs of the public, because it is certainly more cost effective. None of us have to drive to Kerfatu this morning with this very rainy weather, and you know, none of us have to you know, eat the food of Kerfatu and the drinks of Kerfatu. So your cost has come down considerably, and at the same time, you are able to have a very effective program. I think our institutions, this is where we need for them to innovate. But to be always in this belligerent mode of trying to answer every comment that Almamy Taal or Dodou makes or Amadou makes, I really don't think is very useful. And quite frankly, Lamin, I have to say also, you journalists like to get these very sensational headlines out of a very complicated conversation. And then people will say, oh, I have been provoked by UDP. I have been provoked by Almamy Taal. You know, for me, these are things that, quite frankly,
well, we have to keep you talking.
You have to sell papers.
I mean, journalists have their own agenda. Journalists have their own agenda. We want to keep you talking. So, as long as we get you right, we are free to keep you talking. Okay.
You want to sell papers, Lamin. You can just now. You want to make a lot of money in this country.
You know, journalists have their own agenda, and that must be understood. Let me tell a British politician who said, you know, he was walking on the banks of the River Thames, and he found a girl who was about to, who was about to fall into the water and drown, and he suddenly grabbed the girl. He grabbed the girl and saved the girl. The next morning, the paper said, Mr. So-and-so grabbed girl on the River Thames, meaning that I wanted to cut him. So how we say it? How we say it is left to us. Let us just get it right. Anyway.
Absolutely right. Point taken. But on a more serious note, Lamin, really, I really think that this is an opportunity. We have a global crisis, no doubt about it. We need to pivot away from a crisis mode to preparedness mode so that our life goes on. Life doesn't stop just because you have a crisis. In fact, we elect our leaders so that they can manage a very complex crisis. This is, for me, this is the ultimate test of leadership. And our institutions must now rise to the occasion and do what is necessary to make sure that we continue to have a democratic society.
Okay. Mr. Taal, let's go to take a broader look at the issues, not just the elections in Nyamina as well as in Kerjarga, but the new constitution that has been talked about will have to go through a process. And again, if we cannot get a simple by-election out of the way, how do we get a mass registration of voters and get a referendum on the way, from which we need to have 75%? Now, if we don't begin now to talk about these issues, how do you think we can get this referendum done?
Yeah, of course, I think that's very certain. If really IEC would be telling us that they cannot conduct a Nyamina West Kerjarga wards election now, and then obviously, like we said, COVID is here to stay with us for a long time. Many people have, medical past practitioners and researchers have said something like that. So therefore, I think that is a hint that even, the much expected referendum might also be delayed. And then, I didn't want to just start prophesying what will happen next year. But in fact, if these ones now would be taken whatsoever as a precedent, be not being done because of COVID-19, and we expect COVID-19 to be here until 2021 elections, even the bigger one, the bigger trouble. How would IEC at that time be able to run the elections? And if they start promising us, in fact, I'm not seeing this correctly, because they already have started promising us that 2021 they will be able to conduct elections in a free and fair manner. But yet still, if it does not even have what it takes to test the waters now to organize wards elections, I think those two, are not agreeing. So therefore, I believe there are many ways IEC can take. Example, instead of these candidates go on the ground gathering crowds and so on, the national televisions, even and the private televisions, can all be hired to take part in this job. You'll find out that some of our private TVs and networks are watched all over the country. So they can be provided with more time, given each candidate more time, to carry on. So these candidates also can be using the social media, the WhatsApp whatsoever, do their message sent to their people, and they can do their house-to-house campaign in a much smaller basis. In fact, where they have to drive to go to people, they can, these candidates can be asked not to step off their vehicle. They can start on their vehicle, have whatever microphone they have, give out their message within a period of 15 minutes, and move on. So I think if IEC really is short-handed to organize election due to COVID at this time, what election for that matter, I think they need to raise the alarm now, try to talk about if there will be any possibility for them to organize national elections even in 2021, because we all believe that by 2021 December, COVID may still be here. We don't pray for that, but obviously that's what we believe. So therefore, if they really cannot organize election now for ward elections, then obviously they cannot promise us. And we're talking about a lot of bigger activities. You're talking about mass registration of voters. Exactly. You're talking about civil educations going around. In fact, how do they even expect to educate people about the referendum, the procedures of referendum, the new voter registrations, the displaying of voter registration, all that? These are all activities that will bring people together. And therefore, and all of these activities are far wider than talking about a ward election. So therefore, if IEC really cannot organize ward elections due to COVID, then obviously I think they may be sending a signal that something else might happen next year or so, which I don't believe any of us would accept. So therefore, we are urging them to organize elections as soon as possible for them. They need to organize elections.
Now, Mr. Jah, this may be far-fetched, but Mr. Ka might be saying that if things remain like this, the IEC can use the same excuse to delay even bigger programs, such as the referendum and the elections in 2021. Now, let me ask you this question. I wanted to put this to the NPP representative, that is Mamadik Jai, the administrator, who apparently is not been able to join us. Is there politics behind this? For example, do you think it favors the NPP or supporters President Barrow, who is yet to put his party together, so to speak? I mean, the critics have said this. Do you believe in that perhaps all these delaying tactics is really playing to their favor?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. I wouldn't say it would support the NPP, but on my own perspective, I think it might create chaos, lack of election. People would not just sit back and say their elections cannot be conducted, so the president must proceed when his term ends. I don't think the Gambians are going to buy that idea. They have to start thinking positively. Leadership, you will face challenges. And when challenges arise, people expect you to make a headway through those challenges. That is when you champion your leadership. But your crisis cannot occur, challenges cannot come up your way, and you are shutting down system. For me, that is absolute failure. When things are difficult, times are hard, you must give people hope. You must find a way out for people to move on with their lives. But you cannot hide behind certain issues looking for excuses and shutting people down. That is failure. Such leaders should be changed. People with responsibility should deliver. If other countries can do it, Gambia can do it. And looking at population-wise, they are ahead of us. Certain countries, even a particular city is more than the population of the Gambia. So what are our leaders doing? What is the IEC doing as an institution? They should pave a way out, but not to shut down the system, because shutting down the system means everybody is going to suffer. So they should be thinking positively how elections can take place, because this is what would develop a nation. This is what can take us forward. But it not happening, it might create chaos.
Yeah, one might be wondering, why is the IEC not invited to this forum? We have done that so many times. I believe the IEC doesn't want, or any of their personnel want to commit themselves to say anything for the public, so they confine themselves to have the snippets of interviews conducted by the chairman and nobody else. And so that's why we are
Get
going
your
by
cameras and go to IEC's office. If you invite them, they are not coming. Let's go after them, because they have been paid, they have been chosen, selected, elected to lead, to deliver. They cannot just be hiding and they don't want to surface. Go after them.
And that is why in the newspapers, at least, we've been using our telephones to challenge them to come out to talk. And that's why we were able to get the chairman to talk about, for example, which is the next topic coming about. He has said that actually, contrary to all what he calls speculations by people like Almamy, who's sitting down there, that his term actually have not ended, and he was in fact given a fresh mandate in 2016 as a chairman, which is in fact for an initial period of 7 years. So he said, according to him, he will stay there until 2023. Now, in your understanding as people of these stakeholders, what do you make of that? Almamy?
For us, we are believers in the rule of law, and often I think sometimes in the passion of the moment, we may say things that are maybe personal opinions. But in the case of the IEC, I think we must be very clear that they are a creature of law, and they are, like any creature of law, bound by the law that set them up. So really, this is a question where if the IEC chairman is given a fresh mandate for another 7 years, it should be clear. We know that the chairman has been a part and parcel of the IEC for a very long time now. This is no fact.
2011, he said.
Well, I just want us maybe to not personalize this about. Yes. So really, I mean, my comments about these things is that what is the position of the law at all times? And the laws are not made by IEC. The laws are made by the National Assembly. So in all fairness, we must also demand from the National Assembly as an institution to make better laws so that our institutions are fit for the purpose that they are designed. Really, I don't know. It's not for political leaders or for incumbent office holders to explain what the law is. The law is what it is. What journalists and commentators should always do is to find out what does the law say about this. And I try as much as possible to make my arguments based on that. It's not based on sentiment. I have nothing personal against anybody.
What is your understanding of the law regarding their terms?
Yeah, there is a commission that is established by their act, and the commission members are to serve for 2 consecutive terms maximum. That is what the law says. Of course, there has been a lot of call for reform of the electoral law and the electoral process. In most countries now, election commissioners would conduct 1 election and have time to prepare for their successors. Exactly. This is to inject more integrity into the process. Because the longer you are in some of these institutions, because of the stakes that are involved, the easier or the more difficult it becomes for you to remain impartial. Effectively.
To remain impartial.
Well, I wasn't going to say anything like that. But I just want us to be clear that things need to change. And in fact, things are changing everywhere. We now have a global pandemic and people are trying to adjust to do their activities under these circumstances, based on the best advice, based on the necessary enabling laws to do this. Singapore, I was looking at their laws, and they have something for their upcoming parliamentary election, especially for the COVID-19, so that the election can be successfully delivered. So the function of the IEC, the function of National Assembly, the function of the executive and different ministries, these are the things that Gambians hope that they can be transformational and change the way we live in our society.
The chairman, however, made it clear that if all the worries is about a free and fair election, he will deliver one. If President Jammeh, ex-President Jammeh, could not stop him from rigging elections, I'm sorry there, Mr. Jah, nobody will be able to do. Mr. Ka, what do you make of that? He is assuring people that, like he did in 2016, he's going to preside over free and fair elections.
Well, it's not as simple as that. I'm sorry to jump here. Okay. I mean, what happened in 2016 had a lot of factors around it, and all Gambians have participated in bringing that situation around. So that kind of talk, I don't think is befitting to come out of the IEC office by any of its officials. This is a democratic society. It's not about trusting an individual or a benevolent leader. It's about processes that are beyond reproach, processes that people have confidence and trust in. This is all people what we all want for our country.
Yeah, but it depends on the chairman or the head of that too. If he wants to be impartial, he can be impartial.
It doesn't depend on one person. Lamin, please let us stop this kind of polarization.
Now listen to me now.
It's a whole system.
I know the institution exists, but the chairman himself was quoted as saying that during the election, on election night, attempts were made to get him to change the results, and he refused it. Shouldn't he get that credit?
I think all of us are witness to that, but I'm just saying that it is not as simple as that. You had the spot counting, and people were there. People were representing GDC at spot. People are representing APRC at spot. So this was a national effort.
So you mean you mean he had nobody there had any choice but to respect what has been reported?
Well, you are the journalist. You can say that. I cannot say that.
All right, Mr. Ka, I'm going to look out the GDC. And what do you make of all these things? I mean, the chairman is assured that he's going to preside over a free and fair election, if that is what the people are worrying about. Many people are concerned that the two previous errors were almost, very nearly costly, and that has really shaken the integrity, or the competence, of the commission. Particularly his age and other things, they think it's time he went. What do you make of that?
Yes, I want to say the outcome of the 2016 elections. I think this is a credit that should be shared to all Gambians, not only the IEC. Of course, they have played a critical role in the outcome of the previous elections. You can remember there was a time when our party, as even GDC, made complaints regarding the outcomes of that election. I can also vividly remember when our party leader himself had to call officials of the IEC, informing them that his own kids were denied voting because, and then IEC themselves, they would make their research and get back to him. And when they got back to him, what they told him was that, yes, it is right, their names are in the voter register, but there is some discrepancies in the numbers that are in the voter register with that they have already in these polling stations. And I think that obviously came from the IEC, not any other voters, because no other person have, every power or so to create voters cards. So they are the one that created voters card. And we know that something like that happened all over the country, So therefore, then the outcome of the election, I think this is credit that should be shared among all stakeholders that had. But also 2021 will be different because I think and I believe, like Mr. Taal had just said, we will be present, our parties will be present in those elections. There are mistakes, errors, maybe that or shortfalls that some parties have gone through during that election. Like example, our party as GDC, there are certain polling stations that we were not having an agent. Do you see that? So, and this time in 2020, we make sure that will not happen. So
but
it was all because
that was your fault, isn't it?
No, but I'm just trying to tell you how different 2021 will be from.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm
right.
just trying to tell you, and then now I think more people are involved in the electoral process, in the electoral activities themselves. Parties will increase their participation, different from what used to happen. So therefore, then I think room for malpractice or any other issues will be very difficult, will be hardly seen, as parties will gear up and be readily gear up towards seeing a free and fair election. And we're not going to take it easy as an easy ride from anybody or stakeholders or to just come and do whatever you want or play things any way you like it and just move on with it. That's not going to happen. So therefore, I believe it's not going to be that easy as it was in 2016. And then 2016, some things happened that were not really actually supposed to happen in an election.
Mr. Jack,
we have seen, yes.
Mr. Jack, well, I wanted to ask you, these two gentlemen have been saying that the circumstances and the scenery 2016 will be far different from 2021. I know, of course, your party are still not happy with the outcome of the elections. In fact, some of you are still contesting its authenticity. But then, let me ask you this question. 2021, as far as you are concerned, as the APRC, what would you like to see changed in terms of the operations of the IEC?
Thank you very much. It's really important. Nothing personal, but us as a party, you cannot blame the APRC if we say the IEC chairman has to resign publicly in the in public space, going to the media saying that he is happy that the APRC lost elections and he is happy that the former president is gone. How independent is that chairman? So you want us like to say, okay, that's no problem, we can move ahead. In the political history of this country, that has never happened. He should have kept that to himself, but not to come in the public space and other such. Like in 2016, there were a lot of irregularities. Mr. Ka highlighted that. We also experienced the same. Over 300,000 people did not vote, most of them in the country. The IEC have said that even in certain workshops.
I don't want to stop you there, but there were allegations and criticisms that perhaps those cards were among those allegedly burnt at the APRC bureau. Perhaps that's why they were absent. Well, couldn't they have been among them?
No, those are mere allegations. Those were mere allegations. I'm talking about the same scenario that happened. What Mr. Ka is explaining, people went to the polls with their voter's card and they refused them to vote, stating that the number on the card is not on the voter register. They are the ones who issue voter card. And IT, knowing IT, when you build a filing system, it is computerized. For example, database, when you create a primary key, it does not allow duplication. So how did IEC manage to have all that happen? And I've been saying it all the time. When you talk about on-the-spot counting, I believe there shouldn't be any errors because it was done in the presence of people and records were taken. So who was inflating those numbers they talked about? And if you say that the incumbent Biden was trying to change the result, for me that was funny because you cannot have on-the-spot counting. People got their data, they are tabulating it. How can they force you to change the results overnight? How? That is definitely funny. But for 2021, it is going to be different because people have learned from the past, from our mistakes. For us, we are working now. We are not waiting for elections to be due and we start working on it. No, we're even conducting training. If I have to turn my camera, I will show you people in our bureau. They're filling forms. We're recruiting. We're going to conduct training. What happened in 2016 cannot be repeated in 2021. I can vividly assure you of that.
Okay. And I was going to still ask, what would you like the IEC to change? You really outlined some of the things that you need to be done. How about how to call it? What I was going to say. How do you still feel that the chairman, having said what he had said about your party, which you said morally should really make him resign? What about this law? What's your makeup from your inter-party level? What is the belief about whether he's right or wrong as to his terms? Whether his term has ended or not?
Thank you very much, Mr. Cham. I can assure you, if the statements he made publicly, if it were other countries, they will not accept that because it is totally against the values of the IEC and what people expect of them. So these are things that must not even come out from an independent IEC chairman. And on the other hand, not he is aging, but he has age. That is also very much important to look at. And he also have health issues. Now, these are things he can deny. We meet at workshops, at other training places. Even if you look at him walk from one place to another, you definitely want to suggest within the IEC, there are people competent enough to take over from him. We're not saying bring somebody from somewhere that everybody knows, but within the commissioners themselves, somebody can take over. We're not saying dissolve the IEC, but age also matters. And we know people within the IEC that are running, pulling the strings and running the show, and it's not him. So his role for me, it's very minimal within the IEC. So having him change, I don't think that would hamper anything in the system.
Yeah, like Almamy said, the whole thing has to be shifted from personal to a whole institution because that's what matters.
Exactly.
Okay. Exactly. Now, yeah, I understand perfectly. Now let's go back to Almamy. I wanted to paint a picture of how what these gentlemen have spoken, what they want changed in the operations of the IEC in the 2021 elections. Of course, there is better education right now among figures, and according to Mr. Carr, there will be greater participation of political parties and their agents in the whole process. Now, even before we start registration, there have been rumors flying all over. I wanted to put this to the NPP representative Mahmoud, but unfortunately he's still not here, that there probably could have been illegal registration of voters. All of you must have heard that. But how credible can that speculation be? Because, I mean, nothing has started yet.
You were breaking up at some point. Yes. You're breaking up at some point.
I mean, you are not breaking up. I can hear you very well. I'm afraid you are the one breaking up. You are the one breaking up, not me. What I'm trying to say is that both gentlemen from the GDC and the APRC have said that there is going to be a lot more scrutiny from the political parties in the whole process of the IEC in 2021, far greater than what happened in 2016. I'm saying even before we start, there are wild speculations that some people might just even started engaging in illegal registration. But how credible can that be when people have not even started registering?
Sorry, Lamin, you are not clear to me there. I'm sorry. I'm just having some static in your question. But if I can paraphrase, if you are hearing me clearly, that we are not yet at 2021, why are we all up in arms for a better manner of speech?
Okay, that's part of my question, yes.
Against the IEC. Can you hear me? I'm not even hearing myself.
Oh, well, then that means the trouble is from your end. Can you hear me now?
Now you've come back, yes.
Okay, what I was exactly
saying... So the
question,
maybe in 2 words.
Yeah, in 2 words, what I'm saying is even before we start, people are started speculating that there might be illegal registration going on. How credible can that be, even before the IEC start registering people?
I'm sorry, Mr. Cham. I'm not hearing you there. Sorry, yeah.
Okay, I'll cross over to Mr. Carr. Mr. Carr, how credible? Because I know these rumors are coming from you. Well, supposedly opposition elements like you and your party and other parties, perhaps the UDP as well. But how credible can that be when we have not even started registering and people have the already existing register already? How credible do you think people can engage in illegal registration?
Firstly, I think that's not coming from GDC. So it's not coming from us.
One of your councillors supposed to have met people, illegally registered.
But what I'm saying is the GDC as a party, GDC as executive. Those are people that are on the ground. Okay. Usually, if things are brewing up, it usually comes to them first before it gets to us.
Okay.
But as of now, our party, the party itself, is not saying that. Okay. Also, myself, I believe I've heard from different people talking about same issues. I've even seen on social media, voters cards, that are going around with different names or names that are presumed not to be Gambian names also. Either way, or everything can happen, I know. But what I believe by 2021, there should be, and inshallah, there will be a new voter registration. Oh, and I believe, I think that voter registration process would have to come through different, you have to go through different processes, talking about its fundings and, the machinery that it needs at that time, to be conducted. So as of now, as a party, we cannot say that's happening, but these are rumors that are going around. Like you journalists have heard or have seen from around the Gambia, also the same thing. But I can tell you as a political party, if that were to happen, we will not play along with it, and then we will make sure we do everything that must be done to see that there is a permanent stop to that.
Mr. Kai, you must have been familiar with this. Speculations that people volunteering to pay for people to acquire ID cards. Certainly, these are not ordinary volunteers. They must have a motive, ulterior motive.
Yes, I've also heard something like that. Anyway, not official from our side, but I've heard things like that ongoing. And what I will do is I will just expect authorities that are in charge of issuing ID cards to do what the Constitution asks them to do, and the ways and manner in which the Constitution asks them to issue Gambian papers. They have to follow the due process and make sure Gambian papers are issued to Gambians only and or otherwise provided by our Constitution. Yeah.
Mr. Jack, you must have been following or had occasions to hear about these speculations about alleged registration of voters even before anybody even to contemplate, and also people volunteering to get people to be issued with ID or at least to pay for them. What do you make of all these practices?
Thank you. Like Mr. Carr said, it's on social media, and how true or how authentic it is, we're yet to verify. But for me personally, I am already suspecting foul play on the side of NPP when they are proposing to people that they will have 70%. One of their members said that, another two members said they're going to have 75%, which is very funny. If 2016 statistics provide 7 political parties plus independent candidates can have 43%, how can a single party come up with 75% when we have new political parties emerging? So we are watching. We're definitely opening our eyes and watching every move and what is going on. But with that 75% notion, I feel they're just looking for strategies how they can rob people off.
Maybe this is just a statement of somebody who is just dreaming, and you may not have to take it seriously.
It has been repeated 3 times. It's like if even in some while you will hear them say it again, 75%, 75%. What assurances can they have that they're going to pull 75% when they are yet even to inaugurate their political party? I'm not saying it's what's going to happen. That's why I said we're watching. We're suspecting foul play. 75%, that is on the high side. Looking, they have not pulled any crowd bigger than what all of other political parties are pulling. Where will they get 75%? We must be realistic and to be honest.
Interesting. And I must at this point emphasize that we had invited Mohamed Njai, who is the administrator for NPP, to join us and answer these kind of questions. But he said he would be traveling and may have difficulties, in getting us, joining us. That is. Almamy, are you back now? You have now perhaps fixed.
Yeah, now I can hear you clear. I can hear you clear. I think.
I am saying.
If you can ask the question again, please.
What we are saying is that these might be wild speculations, but even who can imagine that anybody would have started illegally registering people even before the registration process has started? Have you heard about those rumors? And what do you make of people volunteering to pay ID card fees for people, people said they have ulterior motives and they should be stopped. What's your thinking about that? What are your thoughts on that?
I think the issue of people preparing for 2021 is a public secret, if you like. Everybody knows that is going to be the ultimate game in town. So a lot of individuals, especially those who have come on the political scene recently, are preparing and they are strategizing, and they have every right, every reason to do so. The issue of ID cards and helping Gambians to get ID cards, I think is something that we should look on favorably, because the ID cards themselves are very expensive. So very few of our young people who are of the age to get an ID card may not be able to afford the ID card. Of course, if somebody is trying to get an ID card for a non-Gambian citizen, that is a criminal activity and it should be called out, it should be stopped. And we, again, going back to our institutions, we need to demand that they are more effective in service delivery. I don't know why driver's license and ID cards and voters card, all of these things could not be harmonized into the voter register. Again, if you have a database like the passports, the diaspora Gambians who are still on that database, is there no way that we can empower them so that they can participate in the referendum in presidential elections? I'm just saying that generally what we need to do now is to be in a mode of preparation, and we should use all the tools that are available to us so that we can exercise our citizenship as effectively as possible, but also as cost effectively as the opportunities are. Why is the ID card costing so much? Why can't you get an ID card and a birth certificate for free?
Well, we know, of course,
so
that
for
has
me,
to
these
do
are
with, we know, of course, that has to do with maybe that has to do with the government wanting to raise revenue, etc. But then what I'm trying to say is, what are your thoughts on people volunteering? And sometimes they are politicians. In most cases, they are politicians or people connected to politicians who wanted to just volunteer to pay en masse for a lot of people to get ID cards. They must have motive for that, because they just turn up. They don't go to hospitals.
No, I mean,
and
no,
pay for
me, I think if a Gambian wants an ID card and he cannot afford it, and you can afford it, you should be able to pay for it. What we should be very careful about is getting non-Gambians to get our national documents. This is the problem that we have been talking about in the past. But you know, if we have that situation, it should be called out. If anybody knows that A is not from my village or A is not from my neighborhood and he is registered there, as a citizen, you should stop that person from participating in any of our national activities. That is the responsibility of all Gambians. And those who are trying or getting support to make sure that non-Gambians get Gambian documents, these people are engaged in criminal activity. And these are things that government should be on the NCCE platform or the IEC platform, sensitize non-Gambians who are in the Gambia that our national documents are not for you. Whether it's the voter's card or it's the ID card or anybody who is getting into a scheme to make sure that the space is confused or muddled. I mean, these people must be called out. It's as simple as that, Lamin.
All right, let's change finally, of course, to this topic. Parliament should have actually resumed this month. Now, none of you are directly in Parliament, but members of your parties are. Do you expect them to resume in view of these COVID restrictions, or what are you expecting them? Almamy first.
Again, I'm having that difficulty again, Delamy. What was the question?
The question was, National Assembly members were supposed to resume in September this month. Do you see it happening in view of the COVID restrictions?
I don't know.
Okay.
It's been raining very heavily in to be here. But I mean, you are talking about schools and COVID, huh?
I'm talking about the National Assembly, which should resume this month. Do you see it happening? The National Assembly sittings.
Oh yes, I mean they've already given a date. I think they are going to start in the middle of September, and they are expecting the gazetted final draft constitution to be promulgated. There will be a promulgation debate.
All right.
So
and
I don't know how they are going to keep house, but this is the official notification that is in the papers.
All right. And that is and the main topic, of course, is said is going to be the draft constitution, isn't it?
Hello?
All right. I don't think Mr. Taal can hear us now anymore. Mr. K, I want to come in there. You are not directly in the National Assembly, but your party has 5, I think, or 4 now. Unfortunately, of course, we know about Nyamina West who passed away. The main topic would be the draft constitution, I guess. What is your perspective, the perspective of your party on this national, the constitutional drafting?
Yes, the draft, our party really would want to see that to pass through Parliament and to the people. And hopefully, we are looking forward to see it being adopted by the people. I can tell you that I have some concerns because we have a government that was tasked and mandated by the people to come up with a new constitution. They have done, the CRC itself, done a great job going around the Gambia and try to inculcate the people, what actually people want as constitutions to govern them. Funnily, after everything has been done and passed to the president whatsoever, that's being gazetted. So we have seen responsible people from the president's administration, president's party, criticizing certain, aspects of the constitution, especially, I think in a way that was really, I think I see it as very low because identifying what was seen not being in the interest of the president, raising it up, I think that was so upsetting, was so disturbing for me to take. I think I would have been very happy if they had identified issues that Gambians were talking about that did means is not in their favor or didn't serve them well, but specifically having these people to point out a section saying it does not favor the president. And I believe because these people have come out and then point out certain sections saying that it does not it disadvantage the president, and we have seen that even from members from the cabinet themselves talking about it. So I believe for this constitution to pass through the parliament, in fact, is going to be a great task, because I believe those that are representing the president in the house, or those that will be voting for the president or whatsoever agenda the president has in the house.
Let's say those who sympathize him.
Those who sympathize with the president, sympathize the agenda, I believe I'm expecting really they may vote against this constitution because it does not favor the president in one way or the other. And if it does, there could be some lobbying, some campaign, and at the end of the day, to be very honest, for me, I am not foreseeing a constitution to be sent to the public. Anyway, if it does, alhamdulillah, that's what I want, and that's what I've been praying for, that constitution come into effect. But I believe the government and the president that have used our millions to come up with that constitution might go against the constitution when it goes to the parliament, probably.
Do you have a similar feeling, Durija?
Yes.
Do you have a similar feeling that perhaps this constitution may not, after all, gets to a referendum? I mean, the people who sympathize in the current president, because they don't like certain aspect of it, may campaign for it not to go any further.
Well, people define views and opinions, whatever their take could be. I'm not supporting the president, but I feel But in that aspect, I would somehow agree with them. You cannot make laws and backtrack them. When the law come into existence, that's where it should begin, especially, if you bring in something and say it's a change. So you would expect when the law is in place, it should commence from that point in time and move ahead. But you cannot make laws and you want to pin the president somewhere and say whatever years the president has served, we will drag that into the new constitution. I'm definitely not agreeing. Whatever is new should start from its inception and we move ahead. But talking about collectively, being a member of the IPC, a lot of workshops have been conducted. And when we're doing review of the proposed draft, all political parties have agreed to certain issues that changes they want in this new constitution. And it's not reflecting. We're wondering why. To the extent there were other workshops, when we raised these issues, they said it's not only groups that are bringing in their opinions and their views, they also have individuals that are giving in their opinions and views, and that can be captured too. But here we're talking about the Gambia, like Mr. Ka said, they went to the provinces, the diaspora, and all other places, consulting people, what type of constitution do you want? And if that does not reflect in the final draft, people might say, what is wrong with it? Especially when we're saying it is borrowed from Kenya. For me, there's nothing wrong borrowing from Kenya, but at least capture what Gambians themselves want, if not all, but most part of it, and people will feel ownership that these are the laws we wanted for it to govern us. I'll give one example. You cannot say political parties must submit their financial transactions yearly to the IEC. Failure of which to do so, they will be deregistered. For me, that is not democracy. Government is not financing them or giving them money. Neither is the IEC. You could have put in other measures to punish, or to bring them to tax than to deregister, just to ban a political party for failing to submit their financial transaction. I agree we should submit our financial transaction, but not failure of which to do so, you will ban them. These are issues that people need to look into. And if you look at the judiciary system, they have reduced powers from the president, reduced powers from parliament, and they empower themselves. Nobody gives them the vote. Majority never came out and said it is you people, but the president has no power over them, neither parliament, neither the people who vote for the president and parliament. Why should they empower themselves? It's like they draft a constitution to empower themselves. These are all issues we need to look at. And earlier on, you asked about parliament. Of course, it has, like I said, you cannot shut down the system. Parliament sitting should continue. Let them observe the health regulations, whatever measures are put in place, and life must go ahead, because parliament is key. They are the lawmakers. They are the people who ratify, most of these bills and grants and laws and the like. If you shut them down, it's like you are shutting down the system.
Fantastic, fantastic. Almamy, to round up, do you expect this constitution to really make it to a referendum, or do you foresee, as has been highlighted, possible obstacles being put in its place by people supposedly sympathizing the president, or perhaps people sympathizing the president's opponents, such as your party, in obstructing things they don't agree with?
What is clear is that whether it goes to referendum or not depends on the UDP. This is just the arithmetics of the National Assembly. But in principle, we support this final draft constitution. And we believe that contrary to what a lot of people may be thinking, the constitution was drafted by the Gambian people. What the CRC actually has been mandated by law is to do the legalese and to translate the aspirations and the ambitions of the people of the Gambia. Constitutions everywhere in the world are drafted by the representative of the people. This starts with the oldest constitution, modern constitution of the US. Coming to your question, and maybe also clarifying for the benefit of my brothers, Mr. Ja and Mr. Ka, that is a constitutional principle that you can, in a constitution, have a principle or a law that is retrospective in its effect. Generally, the principle is that laws made by a parliament, for example, does not have retrospective effect. But a constitution can give itself that power because it is ultimately the supreme law of the land. So as a principle, our constitutional process went through this validation by the people, and the people have expressed their views on a lot of issues. And some of them found their way into this final draft, some of them did not. What is important now is that we make a fresh start, we make a new beginning away from this imperial presidency. I see Mr. Ja is very keen about it, but this was the reason why Gambians in 2016 got rid of an imperial president. You cannot have a democratic society where power is concentrated exclusively in the president, who is the only elected member of the executive. None of the ministers are elected by anybody. They are there at the pleasure of the president. All the resources of the country are monopolized by the executive. Everybody else goes with a begging bowl to be giving resources to do your own development. So in the final analysis, those who are quote unquote sympathetic to the president must remember that it is Gambians who actually decided what the constitution should be and what are the terms and conditions of the presidency. And it is about time in Africa also that we do away with these imperial presidents or leaders who start thinking because they have been elected president that it has made them somehow special or they are endowed with special abilities. I mean, the last leader we had who was obsessed about that, calling himself Professor, Babili Mansa, all these, meaningless titles, really, we should move away from that. In a democracy, people elect you to do a job. They pay you for it. So you better do the job. The CRC was paid a lot of money to write a constitution for us. But it is our constitution ultimately. So to finally say that every constitution you see in the world is a reflection of what the people want, meaning the majority of the people. Of course, not everything in the constitution is acceptable to me personally or to the United Democratic Party. But we are going to campaign for this constitution to come because it would give us the opportunity to do the corrective work of this last constitutional arrangement that we have that doesn't give power to anybody.
Let me ask you, you of course made, you of course made it clear that, you don't mind it being applied retrospectively. That is the commencement of the second term.
No, I'm explaining a constitutional principle.
That's what I'm saying.
A constitution may have.
I understand.
It's not that I don't mind.
I understand the problem. Is there anything that the United Democratic Party, anything in particular, you think they might not agree with, or you might not agree with in passing in the draft? This idea of the public finance of the country and the role and importance of local government, I really think it needs a lot of review. I'm consoled by the fact that once the constitution is passed, Parliament can actually make specific laws to empower these institutions to change the architecture of public finance in the country. I see. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Almamy Funding Taal, spokesman of the United Democratic Party, Amadou Ka, also spokesman of the Gambia Democratic Congress, Dodou Ja, who call himself Ja Tukulor, deputy spokesman of the AFPRC, all of you, and all of you who've been watching this edition of the brunch. Yes, APRC, of course, I said it. Did I say AFPRs? Well, they are one and the same. They are one and the same. There you go. Thank you very much, anyway, gentlemen, for joining us on the brunch. I must say, of course, we have extended invitation to the NPP through its administrative secretary, Mamaling Jai, who made it clear that he may be traveling, up country and could have difficulties in connecting with us. That might well have been the case. But all the same, thank you very much for your contribution and you over there for watching us. Until I come back your way next week, goodbye for now.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.
Love like fire. Wow. Love like fire. Xam ngeen rek affaire bi xam ngeen fan la? Skincare la. 2020 lañu wax de. Waaw. Fii nag mooy kër fan kër zero tache. Perfect skin. Skincare saa su ne rek niñ ko dee defee rek. Loo lañ soxlaati rek. Maanaam bu ngeen am problème ci seen skin yéen xam ngeen fan la. Fii ngeen di ñëw. Suma xarit yeeg am di jàmm yi nga xam ne taas daf lañ sonaloon xam nga doon xeesal ba la ka xum éneew ma lañ ko nag waaye just in case comme ni ko gars yi waxee rek en cas just in case loolu xew xam ngeen fi ngeen di ñëw skincare plus si yu baax rek la ñoo dox nag ay baax rek fu ne la ñoo dem ci réew mi di lañ indi rek nag products yu baax du Paris du Italie du USA du fi mu nekk nii sax boole nañ ci nag Sweden fu nekk lañ leen a indilee products bu dee tamit nag da nga ñuul rek ñu lay jamaa natural beauty that melanin dripping we do have stuff for you as well emuñ si skincare products rek ñu ngi ci cuub yi tamit fu ne la ñoo jaar in fact sax last commercial bi ñu defoon waxuñ leen woon dañoo dox ci ay kawar 9A grade rek nag waaw we do have bundles as well hair si lu ne la ñoo dox ñun ñu ngi ci rafetal jigéen rek luy taaral jigéen rek waaw boo leen di tukki tamit bëggoon that classic suitcase ñu dañoo dox ci ay Samsonite duñ dee indi any brand of suitcases though other than Samsonite comme li ma dee wax rek boo eggee airport dëri Samsonite dafa am nuñ laa xoolee waaw ngeen ne lan nag waaw skin ci moom la ñu gën a xamee nag skin care products ci moom la ñu gën a xamee ñu ngi dox tamit bentee tamit si ay dàlla man waaye man nag skin care mooy suma specialty xam nga rek jigéen bu sa xar kanam réglé loo def mu jag am nañ Patricia Reiner, Kiwi Eye, the whole range, Lighten Up Gold, tomatine. I mean, the list can just go on and on and on and on. lépp loo xam ne rek luy taaral jigéen la ci yooyu rek la ñoo dox. Skincare Plus nag emuñ si Gambia rek ñu nga United States ñu ngi Gambia fii ba pare bu dee yaa ngi anywhere in Europe mun nañ la ko mail within 3 days rek ñetti fan rek nga jot say diw emuñ si loolu rek dañ laa consult tamit balaa ñu laa jaay diw dinañ def a free consultation pour wax la rek exactly li nga xam ne moo méngoo ak sa kanam dinañ leen wax tamit ne rek am nañ perfumes, you know, fragrances, men's shirts, accessories. We do dresses as well. We do blouses. I mean, we do shoes. Name it, we do them. Skincare Plus 2020 is our year of perfection. Zero task. Fi mu nekk nii réew mi fii kenn waratu fi task. Kenn waratu fi am problème kanam. Kenn waratu fi am problème yu picca. Boo ko amee dafa fekk ne rek ñëwuloo ci place bi fii.
Love, love, love like fire. Bring my love, you're good, my fire. Love, 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 love like fire.
Miss B Designer Outlet is the #1 quality and affordable stop shop for all your needs. Get your evening dresses, suit and ties, office wears for both ladies and gentlemen, beach wears, sport wears, pure leather shoes for men, quality belts, bags, heels for all beautiful ladies, original perfumes, accessories, and a lot more. Find us at Kololini Road opposite Gaddafi Mosque at the Aqua Bridge Station, or call us on 295-3411 or 764-2486. Miss B Designer Outlet. Shop right, look good.